Moby-Dick is one of those books you know is supposed to be important. Yet halfway through you start wondering whether Melville spent too long in the sun and had his brain marinated by seawater. You go in expecting thrilling, whaling adventure, ocean chases, brooding masculine fury. But what you actually get is 70% discussions like, when is a whale considered a fish? Is whale skin really skin? How do you render whale oil? Do whale teeth count as ivory? You think you signed up for the romance of conquering nature, and instead you accidentally enrolled in a hyper-detailed cetacean biology seminar where you're not allowed to skip class because if you miss one chapter, you might miss Ahab suddenly comparing the whale to God. The real tension in the book comes from Captain Ahab. This is a man who had his leg bitten off by a whale and afterward lived his entire life doing exactly two things: nursing a grudge and causing chaos. He is the type of person who treats his personal emotional breakdown as the center of the universe, and he manages to outsource the emotional labor to the entire ship. The crew mostly just wanted to make some money and go home to build houses and raise families, and instead Ahab turned the voyage into his own private revenge startup. Everyone on board knows he's insane, but nobody says anything because that's how leadership works. When your boss goes off the deep end, you smile and call it vision. And the white whale, this creature isn't even a whale. It's a mirror. Ahab sees destiny. Preachers see divine punishment. Philosophy majors see an existential crisis. Modern readers see their own ridiculous obsession with life goals. The whale is just swimming. It did nothing. Everyone else is projecting their worst, most desperate selves onto it like contestants on some cosmic reality show. If Ahab is what happens when obsession burns through your humanity, Ishmael is the one standing quietly to the side, taking notes, sighing sometimes, but never surrendering to madness. He is the only truly human character in the entire novel, which is to say, the only one who survives. And he survives because he never tries to turn his life into a myth. He doesn't inflate anything into destiny or symbolism or epic tragedy. He just witnesses. He lives, floats, observes. That might be the book's only moment of real tenderness. This novel is considered a masterpiece of American literature, but let's be honest, it does not care about the reader's comfort. It is not sweet, not fast, not flattering, not easy, and it absolutely refuses to shorten itself to please anyone. It is like the actual white whale. You don't chase it for pleasure. You chase it because something unreasonable in you demands to watch a person burn their entire life for something simultaneously absurd and grand. Ahab's tragedy is this: he mortgages his entire existence to revenge. It's not that he lacks freedom. It's that he refuses to allow himself freedom. He doesn't care about the outcome. He cares about the burning. So in the end, Moby-Dick is not about the sea or the whale or adventure. It is about this: a person will fall in love with the very thing that destroys them. And some people will choose that path and never turn back. This book mocks us, cuts us open, holds up a mirror, and deliberately makes us uncomfortable. Because it knows that we, too, probably have our own white whale, that obsession, that refusal to let go, that just a little more and I'll make it, that if I stop, I won't know who I am. So when we finish the book, we go quiet for a moment, and then we whisper to ourselves, am I also chasing a whale that will never stop? Chapter 1. We rarely flee the sea. We flee the abyss within. Here the ocean becomes a metaphor for the unconscious, able to devour and to cleanse. For Ishmael, the sea is both outer world and inner mirror. To dive beneath the surface is to descend into the self. Call me Ishmael. Whenever my chest tightens and shadows pool in my heart, I know it's time to go to the water. The sea is my healer. Land pins us under pettiness, power, and anger. The ocean, in its boundless hush, reminds me how wide and how small a life can be. I've sailed on many ships and met all kinds of sailors, rough ones, silent ones, men of fierce faith who treat the sea as if it were a temple. Each voyage feels like I'm searching for something I can't yet name. Maybe it's escape. Maybe it's a homecoming. When the inner darkness lengthened again, I left the city and took a southbound ship. Winter wind blew down the alleys. Church bells tolled in the distance, preluding some unnamed fate. At an inn, I met a strange companion, Queequeg, a harpooner from the South Seas. His dark, tattooed skin seemed inscribed with the script of another world. That night, we shared a bed, an absurd arrangement that gave me an unexpected peace. At dawn, he prayed, whispering sacred syllables in his own tongue. I understood then there are no true savages, only faiths we have not yet learned to read. Morning seeped through the shutters. His hand was sure on the blade, hunter and poet in the same gesture. I decided to sail with him. Before we put to sea, I stood at the harbor, staring at the unending horizon. It was a voiceless calling, strong as surf. We raise walls on land and seek freedom on water. I would follow the waves and let them choose my path. This did not begin in the name of money or adventure, but as a metaphysical pull to slip below life's surface and seek a great whale, perhaps not out there, but in my own heart. Chapter 2. Destiny rarely arrives with thunder. It enters as a quiet encounter. The deepest theme here is the appearing of the other. Queequeg embodies the strange and unknown, an outer foreigner, and Ishmael's inner other. When Ishmael moves from fear to understanding, he reconciles with his own prejudice. As Heidegger suggests, we are being in the world. We find ourselves through the presence of others. That night, I shouldered my bag into New Bedford. Wet streets, air salted with fish. Sea fog smudged the lamps until they looked like lonely souls trembling in the wind. I hunted for lodging. After a few overpriced inns, I found the Spouter Inn, a shabby place hung with harpoons and sea charts. The bearded landlord's eyes were like a man who'd read far horizons. "Only one bed left, shared," he said. I hesitated, then nodded. If a traveler fears the small things, how can he dare the vastness? "Name's Queequeg, a harpooner," he added. "He's out now, back by night. Mind his God, it isn't ours." I tried to sleep. Surf murmured like a far-off lullaby. Wind rattled the boards, whispering of the future. Past midnight, the door creaked. A cold breath came in with a hulking figure. Queequeg. In moonlight, his coppery face and sea-script tattoos looked like secrets raised from the deep. He set down his spear, knelt with a small idol, and prayed. For a heartbeat, I wanted to flee. Then he turned and simply looked at me, not wild, devout. He smiled. "Friend?" I nodded. He smiled wider, patted my shoulder. "Sleep, no snore." And just like that, prejudice broke like foam. Fear is only resistance to what we haven't yet met. Understanding begins with the smallest nod. At dawn, church bells. Queequeg greeted his idol again. I thought, Perhaps we pray to the same mystery, only in different words. We set our sights on Nantucket, that dreamt of harbor of whalers. Queequeg said he would go too. Instead of answering, he carved a tiny wooden whale and placed it in my palm. "Friend," he said, "many whales in sea. Each man chases only one." The word struck like a tide. "We might travel the same route toward different stars. Only companions make the long voyage bearable." Chapter 3. Faith isn't the refusal of doubt. It's choosing to depart despite it. The memorial plaques on the chapel wall proclaim a universal fact. Everyone dies. Confronting the end gives birth to courage. In Heidegger's terms, being toward death is how life becomes fully awake. Death is not an ending, but a mirror for existence. Morning fog hung like silver gauze over New Bedford. We followed the crowd to a small wooden chapel. Dim light, walls covered in black framed plaques, names of sailors who never came home. The place smelled of salt and wax, the sea and grief breathing together. The pulpit was a ship's prow. Father Mapple, once a whaler himself, climbed it like a captain. "Brethren," his voice rolled like surf, "we are all sailors. God is wind, and faith our sail." He told the Jonah story, how disobedience led to the belly of a whale. "To be saved, a man must first be swallowed," he said, and silence dropped like an anchor in my chest. Perhaps the sea punishes, or perhaps it redeems. Who can tell? Queequeg stood beside me, hands joined, praying in his way. No one laughed. Before the memory of the dead, every creed grows meek. When it was over, Father Mapple stroked the plaques as if soothing the drowned. "Every ship returns to the same sea," he murmured. Outside, the sun pierced the fog. "I don't yet know what I believe," I told Queequeg, "but I want to sail." "The sea will tell you," he said. A ship slipped from the wharf. Its bright sail flashed like a hand held out by fate. Chapter 4. Sharing a bed, sharing a pipe, these mark the ground of human existence. We are not sealed islands. We are beings with others. That bond is consolation and root. Dawn sifted into the room like sea mist. Half asleep, I felt a heavy arm across my chest and startled, then saw Queequeg asleep, face calm, skin bronzed, honest. For the first time, a warmth I didn't recognize. This stranger I'd once feared had, without intending, granted me the plainest human trust. I didn't move his arm, only watched the morning. Intimacy needs no shared language or creed. Sometimes it's two lonely souls waiting for the same light. He woke, saw his arm, withdrew with an apologetic look. "It's all right," I said. He smiled, soft as an onshore breeze. "Where I'm from, friends share a bed." "You are my friend." He offered a small pipe. "Friendship smoke," he said. "Souls make a pact." We sat on the bed, passing smoke that wove in the light like two threads of one destiny. He spoke of home, a southern island, a chieftain's son who left a throne to see the world. "Sea, teach me this. Waves beat many shores, but all water is one." I had once thought the ocean a means of escape. Now I felt it might be a school for meeting. "Let's sail together," I said. He gripped my hand and nodded. By noon, we stepped into the bustle. Ropes, harpoons, barrels, vendors and sailors chanting old sea hymns. Queequeg carried his harpoon. I carried my books. Act and thought walking side by side. We paused at the surf. "Is that where we're going?" I asked. He smiled. "That's where every soul is going." Our shadows, one dark, one pale, fell long and parallel. Chapter 5. The start of a fate often hides in a small decision. Choosing the Pequod looks accidental, yet it reveals existential tension. Freedom versus destiny. Sartre. We are condemned to be free. Choice binds us to consequence. Calm on the surface, this chapter is the novel's true beginning. Before dawn, the harbor held its breath. At the Spouter Inn, sailors of half the world crowded round salt meat and black coffee. The air felt like a storm not yet declared. Queequeg's movements were quiet, almost ceremonious. He touched the plate and murmured a short prayer from his island. Even in the unknown, he remained tidal, rising, falling, never frantic. We asked an old tar which ship pointed to Nantucket. He nodded at a weathered three-master. Pequod. Old, but fast. New captains, special. Ahab. Lost a leg to a white whale. Says he's got a score. And a date. A chill came up from the planks. We climbed aboard. The hull was age-scarred but stout. The figurehead half human, half beast, tragic as a god who knows too much. A gray-bearded mate met us. "Sign on?" Queequeg lifted his harpoon. "Aye." "And I said. Inside a small office, Bildad read scripture while Peleg smoked. "Believe in God?" Peleg asked. "I believe in the sea," I said. They traded a look and laughed. Close enough. Ink bit the page like fate. When we stepped back into the light, the sail gleamed like a curtain about to rise. "Friend," said Queequeg, "we go now. Leaving is not escape. It is how we become." Chapter 6. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but sailing alongside it. The sea is not enemy, but teacher. Kierkegaard. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Ishmael stops running and turns to face the wind. Courage, Queequeg teaches, means listening. Wind freshened, fog thinned. We set out for Nantucket, whalers' holy ground, where dream, legend, and greed converge. A small boat carried us along New Bedford's coast. Gray-blue water breathed in silence. Clouds split. A road of light unfurled across the sea. "Are you never afraid?" I asked. "Always," Queequeg smiled. "Every time." But the sea is a teacher. Fear means listen. Perhaps I fear not the sea, but the boundless gulfs within. We passed islets and wheeling birds like white prayers. Rocks carved by wind looked like scripture written by time. Nantucket was plainer than legend. Low roofs, gray walls, air of tar and dried fish, men with skins baked black by work. "It isn't grand," I said. "Dreams don't live on land," he answered. "They live on water." In a chandlery, we learned the Pequod would sail in 3 days. The name Ahab stirred heat and dread. He who fought the white whale and lost a leg now returned to the sea. At a shabby inn we slept to the sound of wind like distant surf. Queequeg sharpened his harpoon. "The sea will test you and repay courage." "How do you know?" "Fear yields when you stop refusing it." I fell asleep to the ocean's ancient tongue, the white whale already moving in my dreams, vast, white, silent, not a monster, but a summons. Chapter 7. Fanaticism is born in the name of faith, yet burns beyond it. The crew speak of Ahab with piety and fear. Faith twists at the edge. Kierkegaard says faith begins beyond the absurd. Ahab moves beyond faith itself. He will oppose the gods. Pride is the spark of tragedy. Nantucket dawned pale, the air sharp with iron and salt. Pequod lay like a sleeping beast. Tarred timbers, scarred planks, a black-winged angel at the prow, guardian or curse. On deck, Silence. Mates kept their heads down. "Captain Ahab is still convalescing," said Peleg. "Save your questions." We don't chatter aboard, that hush pressed like deep current. At supper, men spoke in undertones, a leg torn off, phantom pains, a wail like a demon, or a demon within the man who hunts it. Stars trembled in clear sky. "Maybe the white whale is just the name we give our fear," I said. "Or the god each of us must face," Queequeg answered. From below, the slow ring of a staff on wood. "Ahab," someone whispered. The ship held its breath. Before dawn I dreamed of a whale rising, letters of fire on its back. "Knowledge will devour you." I woke sweating. "You saw it," Queequeg said. "Not a dream, an omen." Light slid along the deck. A shadow moved. Ahab, ivory leg, step like iron, eyes burning. No one spoke. He stood at the prow, silent then. "I will find that whale." Wind rose. Seas shouldered us toward the deep. Chapter 8. Understanding sometimes cuts deeper than fear, for it shows that even darkness has light. Father Mapple's warning. When you gaze into the abyss gazes back. Echoes Nietzsche. The whale gathers symbol, nature's abyss, and the edge of meaning. The Pequod lingered one last night in port. Moonlight pooled like silver on the planks. We joined the sailors' rite, a service before departure to steady the heart. The chapel was shaped like an upturned ship. Ropes and old canvas hung from beams. Father Mapple stood at his prow pulpit like a lantern on a cliff. "Brothers," he began, "we go again to the great and cruel sea. May your souls be anchors, deep but undragged." He told the second half of Jonah, how the prophet, spit back to light, faced his calling anew. Jonah was not swallowed to die, he said, but swallowed to be reborn. We think escape is freedom, forgetting that fate is part of us. When you meet a storm, do not curse the sea. It is your inner tempest speaking. Oil lamps trembled over the sailors' faces. "Fate is part of you," struck my chest like surf. Queequeg prayed in his way, less obedience than conversation with the universe. Faith is not the fear of God, but the understanding that life is still worth trusting. As I passed, Mapple whispered, "When you look into the deep, remember, it looks back." Outside, the night breathed. "Perhaps sea and God are one," I said. "We only cannot tell which is deeper." We walked back, light-footed. In the dark, the Pequod waited like a giant about to wake. If the sea is fate, let me be part of it, not to conquer, but to understand. Chapter 9. Every great pursuit begins not with noise, but with a silent resolve. Freedom and fate are paradoxes. Choosing the Pequod is freedom and the binding to its consequence. Sartre again. Freedom is responsibility. The harbor wore a veil of gold gray. The bell tolled. Men boarded with their private stories, money, glory, escape. And for Queequeg and me, a call between dream and destiny. Orders barked, lines hauled, canvas bloomed with wind, and the ship woke, heart thudding underfoot. From the stern I watched the shore shrink, hands waving, faces still, some already turned away. It felt like leaving not just the land, but the person I had been. Queequeg chanted to sea, to fate, to himself. Wind stung the sails, the hull moaned like an old whale waking. A road of light opened on the water. At the last pier, a ragged man cried, "Don't trust that captain. The whale will swallow all." We stared. "Ignore the madman," said Peleg, but his eyes held sorrow, the look of one who's seen the abyss. Shore dissolved into fog. Someone began a forecastle hymn. Our souls are waves, our fate the wind. If the white whale calls, we become the sea. Night silvered the swells. Stars hung low like watching eyes. Perhaps the whale is no beast, I said. Perhaps a god or a shadow of the heart. If God, we must understand, said Queequeg. If shadow, we must forgive. Teach me to listen to wind, to trust in waves. The Pequod truly sailed.